You ever wake up one morning thinking you're living the dream, only to realize your neighbor's about to turn that dream into a waking nightmare? That was me, Jack Morrison. Yeah, the guy who thought he'd finally made it sitting by the lake tending to his ridiculous pink lawn flamingo. Bartholomew thinking life was good. Well, the joke was on me. Because if you want to know how fast a suburban paradise can turn into a war zone, try planting something colorful in a kingdom ruled by Karen, the HOA president, and her husband Rick, who honestly looks like a fridge someone left out in the rain and forgot about. And trust me, that man never met a rule he didn't want to beat you over the head with. It started over that stupid flamingo. I'm out watering the petunias, minding my own business, and here comes Rick, plum-faced, breathing heavy, stomping across my yard like I'd insulted his ancestors. "That's a violation," he grumbles, nodding at Bartholomew. I flash him a smile, sometimes the only weapon you need. Is it a violation of good taste, or just one of Karen's little commandments that threw him off just for a second, and you could see the gears in his head grinding? He starts talking about the no lawn ornaments rule like he's quoting scripture. So I tell him about the holiday exception. Every day with Bartholomew is a holiday, I say, and man, that did not go over well. He puffs up, tries to get all up in my face, but here's the thing, I'm not moving. This is my property. You want to mess with the bird, you're going to have to go through me and maybe the garden hose. That day was just the opening shot in what became a 2-year Cold War with Karen and Rick. It's funny you move somewhere for peace and quiet, a nice view, maybe a friendly wave from the neighbors, not realizing there's a whole HOA regime waiting to tell you your mailbox is 2 degrees off angle or your grass is a 1/4 inch too long. And Karen, she didn't rule with kindness. She ruled with letters, fines, and a smile so tight it looked like it hurt. She'd show up at meetings with her clipboard, Rick looming in the background, and just dare you to step out of line. The neighborhood learned fast. Leave your trash can out an hour late, $50. Grass a little too long, 50 more. Tiny crack in your driveway. That's 100 a day, buddy. Most folks kept their heads down. Except for Uncle Marshall, who's not really my uncle. Just that one old-timer. Everyone's got the kind of guy who's seen it all, always wearing mismatched socks and talking to his pigeons. He told me she's a storm cloud, son. Best have a good umbrella. Didn't make sense then, but man, did it stick with me. Things simmered for a while, quiet, tense. Everyone afraid of Karen's next move, except Marshall. Then Bartholomew the flamingo showed up in our flower bed, and that broke the stalemate. It was our little act of rebellion, a pink splash in a world that demanded beige, and oh, the letters came. But the day Rick tried to intimidate me off my own lawn, that's when the real trouble started. That's when I knew this wasn't about property values or curb appeal, it was about control. The final straw was a letter about our oak tree, old, beautiful, not bothering anybody, providing shade, a home for birds. Karen decided out of nowhere that it was a hazard, citing some obscure bylaw demanding we cut it down or pay for the HOA to do it, plus a fine. I lost it. We hired an arborist guy, laughed when he saw the tree, said it was the healthiest in the county. We took his report to the next HOA meeting thinking facts would matter. But Karen didn't even look at it. Board's decision is final, she said, all ice. And that was that. I walked out of that meeting burning with humiliation and anger. Sam, my wife, smarter than me, steadier, she tried to keep me calm. But that night I realized it's war. I started digging into the HOA's financials, requested the records they're supposed to make available, got a box of unorganized paperwork so thick you could build a house with it. Karen figured she'd drown me in chaos, but spreadsheets are my love language. Nights at the dining room table, Sam and I pieced it together. Something wasn't right. Landscaping fees were way too high payments going to companies I'd never heard of. Turns out Evergreen Landscaping was getting paid a fortune for mowing grass, but the grass wasn't even that nice. Other neighbors were getting harassed too. Some were fined for hoses, some for flowers, all of them scared, except for Uncle Marshall, who one day called me over and said, "Fear's a lock, but every lock has a key. Sometimes you're looking in the wrong place." That night, flipping through invoices, I found a handwritten note for landscaping work at the Fitzgerald property billed to the HOA. Proof they were using community funds for their own yard. The first domino. Next thing I know, I'm standing on Rick and Karen's porch with that invoice in my hand confronting Rick. This time he wasn't just the muscle. He was cold calculating. He threatened me, then threatened Sam, my wife. My world made it clear this wasn't just a spat about trees. My hands shook all night. Sam wanted to move, but I couldn't. I just couldn't. Not after all we'd built, not with these people thinking they could scare us out. I told her, we're staying, and we're taking them down. So the plan changed. No more playing nice. We needed proof, we needed backup, and for that we needed Uncle Marshall. That's when things got weird. Turns out Marshall wasn't just an old guy with birds, he knew everything about everyone. He orchestrated a wild plan involving his pigeons, Operation Feathered Fury, he called it. Sam, being a tech wizard before she became a teacher, figured out how to crack the Fitzgerald security system. On Thursday at 2, while Karen was at yoga and Rick at the gym, the neighborhood erupted in a flurry of birds, hundreds of pigeons, chaos everywhere, everyone distracted. That's when I snuck into their house, found Karen's real ledger hidden in a filing cabinet. Page after page of notes, kickbacks, phony invoices, the works. Then by sheer luck, I answered a burner phone on her desk and heard Karen herself plotting to drive Uncle Marshall out so they could sell his property, talking about toxic waste, EPA bribes, and a developer ready to swoop in. Turns out our little HOA nightmare was just a piece of a much bigger scam. I ran home, adrenaline and overdrive evidence in hand. We pulled Marshall into the kitchen, apple pie in hand. The man always has priorities. And I told him everything. Then he hit me with the twist of all twists. Marshall wasn't even Marshall. He was Dr. Michael Vance, a chemical engineer who'd buried toxic waste on that land decades ago. He'd been hiding, watching, waiting for someone to take on Karen and Rick, someone to finish what he'd been too scared to start. We loaded everything, ledger, photos, phone call recording Marshall's confession, onto a flash drive. The next HOA meeting, the room was packed, buzzing with gossip about the fire Rick started in our house after breaking in and trying to destroy the evidence. Cops everywhere. Karen tried to run the meeting like nothing happened, but this time the neighbors weren't having it. I took the floor, plugged in the drive, projected page after page of proof for everyone to see, played the audio of Karen plotting with the EPA. The room exploded. People who'd been quiet for years finally spoke up. Fines, threats, harassment, all of it spilling out. Marshall, no Dr. Vance, stood up, confessed his past, and put the final nail in the coffin. The police led Karen out her reign over. Rick faced his own charges. Even the EPA official and the developer got swept up in the storm. Afterward, the neighborhood changed rules, tossed gardens, restored laughter where there'd been fear. Our oak tree survived. So did Bartholomew in all his pink glory. One evening as the sun set and we passed around slices of Marshall's apple pie, Sam nudged me laughing, "Don't you dare get another flamingo." But maybe I will, because I learned that peace and family and, yes, even a ridiculous plastic bird are worth every battle you've got in you. Now tell me, how far would you go to defend your own? Drop a comment. Let's hear where you stand when the lines get drawn.